The Atlanta Braves made a coaching change, but not the one you're thinking of. Let's talk about it. Yes, come on in to Braves Today for Tuesday, June 3rd. Your source of news, notes, and updates on your Atlanta Braves. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. You can follow the show on X, Braves_today. We have a Facebook page and an Instagram as well. And you can find all of my written work, bravestoday.com. That's the Braves Today Substack, as this is both a podcast and a newsletter. I want to get to the news of Marcell Ozuna's hip injury. We have quotes from Alex Anthopoulos. I can tell you everything that we know, which is not much. I want to get to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Facing them tonight, they're in a very similar situation to Atlanta, where they are down in the standings and, in their mind, underperforming what they're capable of. Interesting series starting tonight. But before we do that, the Braves shocked all of us, I think, on Monday. We got the usual tweet from the Braves that said that they were making a change in the coaching staff. A lot of people are wanting Brian Snitker to be gone. That was not the move. Instead, third base coach Matt Tuiasosopo has been reassigned to minor league infield coordinator, and the Braves are bringing back former manager Fredi Gonzalez to coach third base. Alex Anthopoulos then met with a subset of Braves of Atlanta media to discuss the move. So we have some quotes and things here from Anthopoulos as well. But getting into the change, it took me a long time to figure out last night how I felt about this. Okay? Fredi Gonzalez left for a reason. Just remind you some of the story here. He was third base coach for Bobby Cox, 2003 through 2006. He left to go be manager of the Marlins. 2007 is when he was hired. He won Manager of the Year from Sporting News in 2008, was fired in June 2010. The Braves hired him for the 2011 season to replace Bobby Cox. And he was fired in 2016 after they started 9-28, and Brian Snitker replaced him. Snitker was the AAA manager at the time, and Snit's been the manager ever since. It is important to point out, I do want to just real quick in here, Alex Anthopoulos did not fire Fredi Gonzalez. Alex Anthopoulos was not hired until November 2017. So Anthopoulos did not hire Snit. Anthopoulos did not fire Fredi. And as I understand, Anthopoulos doesn't have much of a professional history with Fredi Gonzalez. And Snit referenced that when he met with the media last night. He said, "This is my 14th season as general manager and first time I've made an in-season coaching change. First time I've been part of one as a general manager was part of changes as an assistant when I was in Toronto. But Anthopoulos is the one that went to Brian Snitker first and suggested making a change and going to Fredi Gonzalez." And AA's comments as to why they made this change, I thought were really interesting because it speaks to, you can tell, and this is me extrapolating, this is not him, this is not me quoting him, but you can tell that there's some frustration, I think, around all of the close games we're playing and trying to find a way to get every little possible edge to hopefully offset what the offense doesn't always do. Okay. Here's Anthopoulos, this is a quote, talking about the decision to move on from Tuiasosopo and reassign him to minor league infield coordinator. Quote, "He did phenomenal work with the infielders. Doesn't take anything away from that, but ultimately it's the results at third base. And it's not for lack of preparation or effort or anything. He's beloved in the clubhouse, beloved by the coaches, did a phenomenal job in this organization for years in the minors, did a great job at third in Gwinnett. But unfortunately, like what happens with players, closers lose their job at times and change roles. Players change roles over time. Here's the part that stood out to me. We've been in a lot of close games. We've got a lot of areas that we can still improve on. And in my view, as a front office and a coaching staff, we need to look at every area that we can get better. Tough decision, but Snit and I talked about it initially on Sunday, spoke again this morning, being Monday, talked at length this morning about it, and then finally came to the agreement that this was the right decision to move forward and contacted Tui soon thereafter. And they didn't announce it till late in the day because they wanted to get everything wrapped up and done and complete so that Gonzalez can be in uniform tonight in Truist Park to do the job. He's been a third base coach for a while and is very respected. He's felt as he's considered to be a very good third base coach. And AA said that they weren't going to make this change just to make a change. This change happened because Fredi Gonzalez was available. That they wouldn't get rid of Tui just to do it. They did it because they had a high caliber third base coach to replace him with. And AA is absolutely correct here. Gonzalez is well regarded as a third base coach across baseball. And Tuiasosopo is not gone, obviously. Said that they gave him the option. He can stay with the organization. They wanted him to go back into a minor league role where he's been very good before. So they presented him the option of, do you want to stay with the organization and do this? Do you want to move on and go somewhere else? And they said he was a professional, but he was very accountable. And his response was, and I'm quoting AA, paraphrasing Tui here, look, if I had done my job better, this wouldn't have happened. And honestly, he's not wrong. There were a lot of questionable sins at third base, communication issues, the whole Eli White thing, etc., etc. And yeah, no, I get this. I don't love the idea of bringing back Fredi Gonzalez, but I think right now what we have to remember about the decision to bring back Fredi Gonzalez is there are a couple of caveats with this. I think the first one is his failings in Atlanta were more so on bullpen usage and what he did running the team, and he's not going to do that now. He is a third base coach. And Bobby Cox trusted him to be a third base coach. He was in Baltimore and was their third base coach and got good reviews. They just cleaned house after last season was disappointing. So he was working in Philadelphia as an umpire auditor with MLB. So that's why he was available to come work mid-season. He was not with another team. It's hard to bring a new coach in mid-season simply because they're all usually working with other teams. He was working for MLB and was able to get out of the deal. I had a little trepidation when I first heard about this yesterday from the context of I don't want them to be like, hey, we have Fredi here, and so now if we move on from Snit, we can put Fredi in charge. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I get the feeling, and this is my own personal thing here, I get the feeling that this is just to finish out the year, and everybody accepts that it's barring some sort of miraculous surge that Snit's done after this season. This is just for 2025 to get through the rest of the season, and then after that, Atlanta's going to do a search for a new manager. Again, AA didn't say anything in here about Snit's job security. I don't even believe he was asked. I have the transcript. I have a copy of the press conference. No, we can't post it on YouTube anymore. That was a whole thing. Trust me, it was a whole thing. But I have a transcript of it. He was not asked about Snit's job security. And that's, again, AA referenced. This is the first time he's ever made an in-season coaching change as general manager. And so I don't expect them to make a change. But this was probably the most we were going to get, just given the struggles of the team. And AA's right. Atlanta has played way too many close games and has not been good in that area. I've talked about this a couple times on the show now. Atlanta has played 23 one-run games, and they are 9-14 in those games. And AA actually acknowledged this. He talked about how they're evaluating the offense and the team. And he acknowledged the offense isn't good enough. But he said he's looking at expected wins and losses. And again, this is trying to strip out looking at the inputs versus looking at the results. Because the results are subject to luck, good and bad, to the impact of the other, all of the, there's other factors in there. Extra innings home versus away have different win-loss records. It's just, he said, going off of the expected wins-losses, which is the Pythagorean win-loss based off runs in versus runs out, runs scored versus runs allowed, Atlanta should be 31-27. And he said, quote, our actual is our actual, and I don't want to run from that. But you do have to look under the hood at times. We've played a ton of close games. I believe we're better than we've played. We're not getting blown off the field by any stretch. There's just been a lot of close games and a lot of little things that have impacted us. And those are the things that we need to tighten up. And changing third base coaches from Matt Tuiasosopo to Fredi Gonzalez could be one of those things. If you charitably look at the three most egregious issues that have involved the third base coach, the two egregious sins and the Eli White miscommunication, and you charitably assume that Atlanta would have won at least one of those games had the error not happened, and maybe two, then you're still not 500, but you're a lot closer to 500, right? The little things, right? We also got some news in here. David O'Brien of The Athletic first broke it, and then we got some questions in here about it and some more details. We've had Marcell Ozuna playing through injury this year. Let me tell you everything we know about that. We'll do that next, right here on Braves Today. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Chinook Seedery, the absolute best sunflower seeds on the market. 8 different flavors: original, lemon pepper, jalapeno ranch, parmesan and pepper, cinnamon toast, dill pickle, hatch chili, smokehouse barbecue. Listen, ChinookSeedery.com, CHINOOK, promo code BRAVES gets you a couple things. If you buy the sampler, it's 8 2-ounce packs, one of every single flavor. They always ship that for free, but promo code BRAVES gets you 10% off. If you buy either a variety pack, which is a case of some of everything, or you build your own pack of just the flavors you like, promo code BRAVES still gets you 10% off. It also gets you free shipping on orders over $40. So again, ChinookSeedery.com, promo code BRAVES, 10% off, free shipping on orders over $40, and supports the Braves Today podcast. ChinookSeedery.com, promo code BRAVES. Welcome back to Braves Today. We got some news yesterday about Marcell Ozuna is currently injured, playing through a hip injury. And this is, I don't know how I feel about it. Okay, so here's the timeline of what happened. David O'Brien of The Athletic put out in the morning his takeaways from the series. He talked about the offense struggling. He talked about Elder replacing AJ Smith-Shawver. He talked about Chris Sale's comments about Spencer Schwellenbach. And there was a note in here when he talked about the offense. He discussed Marcell Ozuna getting a home run in the first inning off of Garrett Crochet, and how that was the first time in 9 games that Marcell Ozuna had an extra base hit. And he explained with a quote from Ozuna about the hip injury. So, quote, "I've been slow because I don't want to rotate because my hip is shut down a little bit. I had a tear in the right hip, so I just keep battling. I'm trying to help my team. That's the most important thing. I want to be in the lineup every single day and do everything for my team. That's the first that we have heard that the hip issue that sent Marcell Ozuna out of the Toronto series, made him miss the Toronto series, is still an issue and is still bothering him. That was April 14th through 16th is when that happened. You remember it happened, I think he had the injury in Philly. He had the injury in Tampa. They took him out in the 8th inning in Tampa. So before the injury, Marcell Ozuna hit .306 with a .477 on base and a .531 slug. He had 3 homers in the first 15 games. Obviously, Atlanta went 4-11 in those games. He missed the Toronto series. They flew him back to Atlanta for testing. Since then, a span of 40 games, he's batting .277 with a .454 slug and a .409 on base. He has 7 home runs in 40 games. So that's a 162 game average of 28 homers. So again, before the injury, he was pacing for homer production of 30-something home runs a season. And now he's in the 20s. His OPS was 1.008. A 1. OPS is always nice. Now he's at 863. He's playing through a hip injury. And AA was asked about it in the press conference. How much concern is there about the hip? How much it's affecting him and his power numbers? And AA said it's going to be a factor the entire year. But Marcell's tough. He's playing through it. He's still performing. Even when we took him out and we got tests and so on, he didn't want to do it, talking about sitting out of the game. He wants to stay in there. It's one of those things he's going to have to manage and get to the offseason. And so they've told him, like, hey, routine ground ball. Don't be running as hard as you can to get to first base. Be judicious on the base paths. And so I think the quote they used was he's going to be, quote, saving his bullets from that standpoint. But it's tolerable enough for him to continue to play every day. And so I have to be a little honest. It's frustrating to hear that they are of the opinion that a lesser version of Marcell Ozuna, who was already not very fast and now is probably the slowest player in baseball, is still a better option than cycling other guys through the DH role. But I understand it. He wants to play. We don't know the specifics of the injury. I'm assuming it's like a labral tear in the hip or something. We don't actually know what this is. Again, it's frustrating that he's playing through it. It does, not to be callous, it does make me wonder if it is going to depress his market in free agency this offseason. Meaning either he's able to, like Atlanta's able to bring him back if they want to, or bring him back for cheaper because he doesn't have a lot of other offers. I don't know. Maybe he does, in fact, teams are fine to bring him on, assuming he has offseason hip surgery. Maybe teams are fine bringing him in and letting him rehab over the winter and activating him whenever he's ready next year. I don't know. Part of me wonders, is he going to be more affordable to re-sign if they want to re-sign him? We'll see. But it does explain why they had Orlando Arcia run for him once. I think the game before Arcia got DFA'd, actually. It explains why they had Drake Baldwin, who is not fast at all, why they had Drake Baldwin run for him once. And it's because he's even slower than usual with the tear in his hip. It is another data point that makes me maybe take a step back on my expectations for the offense. He can walk, he can hit home runs, and other than that, it's probably gonna be a lot of singles. The last time Marcell Ozuna hit a double was May 14th against Washington. He had one against Pittsburgh on the road. He had one against LA at home on the 3rd. He had 3 doubles in the month of May. Obviously, no triples. And he did hit 1, 2, 3, 4. He did hit 4 home runs in May and 1 more in June. But it feels like you're going to see that's part of the reason why he's going to be walking so much. Because he's not looking to fire off an A swing unless he thinks it's a crushable ball, because he probably can't beat it out unless he gets it in the air, over the fence, or to the wall or something like that. I don't love the concept of him playing through this. At the same time, if you were to sit Marcell Ozuna, I guess your really only other DH option is whichever catcher's not playing that day. And yes, there absolutely is a path to that would get Drake Baldwin more playing time. But if for some reason you couldn't play Baldwin or Murphy at DH that day, who's your DH going to be? Luke Williams? You're going to put Jose Azocar at DH for a day? Honestly, they'd probably put Ronald there a little bit and things like that. You don't have the roster construction right now to properly take advantage of not having Marcell Ozuna, because this is not something he can sit for a weekend and be fine. This sounds, and again, no confirmation, this sounds like you would have to let him have surgery and he would miss probably most of the rest of the season. So it's either a diminished version of Marcell Ozuna for the rest of the year or no Marcell Ozuna for the rest of the year. And they've made the decision the offense is better having his ability to draw a walk and get on base, his ability to sometimes hit for power, and if it's late in the game when he gets on base, we'll stick someone else in to run in his place. In just a second, let's look at tonight's matchup against Arizona. The Diamondbacks are in a very similar position to the Braves, where they've been disappointing. And so both teams really need a win. We'll break down the night's matchup next, right here on Braves Today. Final segment of Braves Today, Lindsay Crosby looking at tonight's series opener against the Arizona Diamondbacks. So they're in a remarkably similar situation to the Braves, right? Atlanta's 27-31. They're 4th place in the division. They are 10 games back this morning of the division-leading Mets, 8.5 back of Philly, and they're out of the wild card as well. Arizona Diamondbacks, 28-31, so they're half a game better than Atlanta, or 1 game better in the win column. They're 7.5 games back of division-leading LA, and they're also out of the wild card. Atlanta has a positive run differential, but a negative record. Arizona is slightly like negative run differential, right? 296 runs scored, 306 allowed. So they're in a similar situation to Atlanta where they have a losing record, but in their case, unlike Atlanta's, it does not come with a positive run differential. I will say, though, they've been blown out 2 more times than they've blown out opponents, and they have a negative 10 run differential in those blowouts. So if you take out those 2 blowout losses, their run differential is exactly 0. So in essence, they are completely neutral. Now, this is the second series. We played them in Arizona in late April. Braves won 2 out of 3. Chris Sale took on Zach Gallen in the first one. We won that 8-2. The next game was an 8-7 Braves victory in 10. And then the Braves, Brandon Pfaadt beat Spencer Schwellenbach in the finale in a 6-4 game. For Zach Gallen himself, this has been a really tough season. He's a pending free agent after this year. You have to remember that. He is 3-7 with a 5.54 ERA. He's had some walk issues this year. Like last year, 3.65 ERA. He walked 54 in 148 innings. This year, he's at 66 innings. He's already walked 32. He gave up 13 total home runs last year. He's already given up 10 this year. So 5.54 ERA. And in that start against Atlanta, 5 innings, this was April 25th, 5 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. Didn't give up a homer, actually. But in his last 5 games against the Braves, he's given up 5 home runs. 2 of them came in a start in 2023. Of course, the 2023 year, where Atlanta was just nuclear on offense. That whole thing. But his last couple starts, he's not been that good since early May, and it doesn't matter who he faced, right? So he had back-to-back starts against the Mets to open the month and was really good. 6 innings, 1 run, 7 innings, 1 run. But since then, LA at home, 5 2/3, 10 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. Okay, it's the Dodgers. That's sometimes you get beat by the Dodgers. Colorado at home, 5 innings, 8 hits, 6 runs. Gave up 4 bombs to Colorado at home. Not in Colorado, in Arizona. Then he goes to St. Louis, 5 2/3, 3 hits, 4 runs, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, takes a loss. Then he comes back home and faces the Pirates. 5 innings, 6 hits, 6 runs, 5 earned, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. He has been dealing with a lot of poor performance, and his StatCast is full of blue when it's normally not. Zach Gallen is not the same pitcher this year that he normally is. And it looks like a lot of this comes back to just his stuff is not as good. His knuckle curve is allowing a 213 batting average. He's a little unlucky with it. His 4-seamer is a 250 batting average. His cutter's allowing a 471. The cutter last year was under 250. The knuckle curve was under 150 last year. Everything's just slightly worse than it was last season as far as the actual performance of the pitches he throws a lot. And what he's doing with a lot of this, to do the breakdown that I like to do, it's a 5-pitch mix, 4-seam, knuckle curve, changeup, slider, cutter. For the handedness stuff here, everybody gets a 4-seamer. It does not matter. You're going to get a 4-seamer. Lefties, after the 4-seamer, it's a knuckle curve, then a changeup, then a cutter. You'll almost never see a slider. 113 sliders this year, 12 have been to lefties, okay? For righties, 4-seamer, knuckle curve, then slider. You'll rarely see a changeup. He's started 153 and 20 have been to righties. And then he does use the cutter, 1/4 of his cutters are thrown to righties, 3/4 to lefties. So you will see a little bit of a cutter, a little bit of a changeup. You could see all 5 if you're a righty, but it's mostly going to be 4-seam, knuckle curve, slider. But again, these pitches, and it feels like every year with Zach Gallen, something is bad, right? Something's not good. Like last year, the slider gave up a 310 average, but he also didn't throw very many of them. And it was almost exclusively to righties. He's protecting whatever's not good. This year, it feels like the problem is the pitches that he throws the most often are the ones that are not good, right? The knuckle curve has given up 60-something points of batting average year over year. It's given up 150 points of slug year over year. And so there is a path here to the Braves being successful against a struggling Zach Gallen. Again, he's walked plenty of guys. If there's one thing that this team that you feel like they might be able to do, especially like a guy like a Marcell Ozuna, it's draw some walks. Again, because Zach Gallen's been a little bit wild. And when you look at this team, some Braves, not many, but some Braves have had a lot of success against Zach Gallen in their careers. Austin Riley, 17 career plate appearances. He's batting .375 with a homer, a triple, a double, and a couple singles. So he's hit for the career cycle off of Zach Gallen. 2 RBI. Matt Olson's taken him deep. Ozzy Albies has taken him deep. Olson's only batting .188 off of him in his career, but he has taken him deep, right? Marcell Ozuna is the one. He's 4 for 18, batting .222. I had Ronald here. Ronald's 3 for 9 with a couple walks. So he's batting .333 off of Zach Gallen. It feels like you have an opportunity to get some runs off of Zach Gallen. The flip side over here, Spencer Strider is making the start for Atlanta, and I have no clue what to expect. Again, last time out, the fastball velocity wasn't there. The locations were wild. And he gave up 1 run on 1 hit to Philly across 4 2/3, but took the loss because Atlanta just couldn't score. So I don't know what to expect from Atlanta, but I do know that in a vacuum, Zach Gallen is hittable. The question is going to be, can this iteration of the Braves hit Zach Gallen? So we'll see what happens. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll break down this one. We'll talk about the rest of the series, as well as what other crazy news might break today. Maybe Fredi Gonzalez will make like an awesome call at third base, and we can be like, hey, that was absolutely the right move to make a change. Let me know what you think, by the way, about the coaching change. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment down below. While you're there, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. If you're listening on audio, I'm on social media at Crosby Baseball. You can email us, contact@bravestoday.com. Until next time, this has been Braves Today.